Okay, Dr. Rivers, have at it.
Well, good evening and welcome to week 2 of our MSA 601 program. I hope you've had a good week, and I know that you are scattered out all over the state. We were just talking about what may or may not happen in North Carolina and South Carolina. So I hope everyone is safe and stays safe through whatever kind of weather that we've got coming up. I want to go very quickly before we do that. If Dr. Stedman, if you'll scroll down to our norms, I want to remind everybody of our norms. And while he's doing that, I want all ears perked up. We have been getting calls from our colleagues in the MSA program that they are trying to get in touch with you guys to set up your clinical visits. They are virtual visits, but they still, of course, have to be scheduled and set up. So we're going to ask you, if you have not scheduled your visit as of tonight, then as soon as class is over, you go into your Gardner Webb email and look for an email from somebody from Gardner Webb University about your clinical coach 1. They'll call it CC1 visit.
Dr. Evans, I want to tell some, it's not just colleagues. Some of you belong to me that's on this Zoom tonight, and you have not responded back to me. So I only have a few, but some of them, Dr. Ramsey has had 9. There's just different ones. That's a lot, and we're required to get this done in a timely manner, and you need it done, early on in this process.
So you need to be checking your Gardner Webb email, not once, but twice a day, and respond. Dr. Stedman and I will try to respond to you within a couple hours. Well, we expect the same kind of timely response from you as well. So I know you're working full-time and teaching, and particularly if you teach in the primary grades, you can't always check your phone on an hour's notice, but check your phone every morning. I check my email all the time. My email goes to my phone, and I check it constantly. But if it doesn't go to your phone, then you need to check it twice a day, preferably 3 times a day. Okay? So enough of that. Let's just refresh ourselves with our norms. We ask that you remain muted unless you're asked to unmute by the instructor. Please show your video, your picture during class. It just gives us an opportunity to put names and faces together. We always want you dressed appropriately, and please be all in when you're online, meaning trying to avoid distractions that may happen around your home. And we know sometimes those are unavoidable, but please try to be all in with us while we're in class. We ask that you hold questions and write those down, and do not put them in the chat box. And we will respond to all questions by the end of the class. At the end of the class, if you feel good about all the information and you know it's going to be recorded, we always record, and you feel good, then you can sign off. And if you've got questions that you want to ask, you can stay on. We will stay online as long as there are any questions. Is everybody okay with the norms? Would you give me a thumbs up, please, if you are okay? All right. So, Dr. Stedman.
Okay, and I just wanted to, while I've got it here, just a reminder that we do have our second coaching session this Thursday. Remember, we told you that the first 4 weeks we would have coaching sessions. This is a most important session. Dr. Revis and Dr. Hamilton are going to really do an amazing job sharing with you your APA 7th edition requirements as it relates to this program. Pretty much everything that they share with you is what you'll need to be able to be successful in this program. Once in a while, there's something over and beyond, but you'll have your APA manual to cover that. But this meeting is most important. So please make sure that you try to be in attendance with that. Let's look at what the evening is going to look like. It's a jam-packed evening. So please, 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 please pay attention to things. I'm going to just quickly go over some more things in Blackboard, things that I need to bring to your attention. Then we're going to do a quick review of the AAPSL Task 1 and give you some direction on that. Then Dr. Revis is going to introduce the peer review process. Following that, I'm going to introduce AAPSL Task 2, and I'm going to tell you why. If you notice on this agenda, I have put down already or Dr. Revis and I have put on here already what week 1 responsibilities should have been. Now, the only thing you had to do was some reading, and you had to upload your contact information for 1 point. That just let us know that you were in Blackboard, and that let us know your Zoom team know who you were as well, and some things about you. But you'll see this every week. It'll always be when we come online on Tuesday night, what should have already been done by that Sunday night at 6 o'clock. Then we will introduce to you week 2 responsibilities. This is what is going to be due no later than 6 o'clock p.m. on this coming Sunday night. And then it'll also include the upcoming peer reviews. And that's why it will always be a look at week 3. From this point on, it's going to be important that you focus on the current week and also look at the next week, because beginning next week, you will be at a place where you will always be submitting a task for review, but you'll also be submitting a task for a final grade at the same time. That will be beginning after you get into task 2. That's what will happen. So you need to get used to this. And Dr. Revis is going to talk about the peer reviews. She's going to tell you when they're due. But again, it's so important to remember, look at what is due this week, but you have to also focus on the next week as well. You always have to think ahead in this process. So with that in mind, I want us to look at, let me minimize this. And then I want to bring up like with just a reminder too. Now, remember, I don't care what it is, how minimal it is, how big it is, the assignment. Remember, your attendance is based on your assignments that are due on Sunday evening at 6 o'clock. Not 10 after 6, not 15 after 6, at 6 o'clock. So you need to don't wait until Sunday morning. You need, well, I can't tell you what to do. We're a Christian-based school, so I can say your place of worship, you need to think about that, or how you worship. You know, don't let all your day be so absorbed with school that you can't have family time, and that you can't. So you need to plan during the week so that Sunday is not going to be so taxing on you. And so just work around that. But no matter what, assignments are due by 6 o'clock, and I'm going to encourage you, don't hold on to it when you're ready to turn it in. Go ahead and turn it in to Dr. Revis and me. I promise you, if you turn it in, we're going to go ahead and look at it ahead of time, and you're going to get your feedback a lot faster, and that'll give you a chance. Jeffrey was the first one to turn in things to me. Jeffrey, it helped a lot, didn't it, getting that feedback early? Jeffrey was able to go ahead and move on, and he knows what he's got to do. And, you know, he's already thinking ahead to task 2. I talked with another student today, and they are, you know, they're at a place, but now I talked with them, and they were holding on to it a little bit. I told them, I said, let go. She said, I'm scared. I said, don't be scared. I said, we're going to be candid with our feedback, but it's so important. and we give you an opportunity for redemption, in this process. So, I will tell you, don't submit work that's half done. Don't submit work that's incomplete. You give it your best, because I'm going to tell you, and Dr. Revis will too. If it's incomplete, guess what I'm going to do? And Dr. Revis is going to do. We're going to send it back to you with a 0. Don't waste my time. Don't waste Dr. Revis's time. If it's not the quality that we think it's supposed to be, we're going to put a grade on it, and you're not going to like it, and we're going to send it back, and we're going to say, when you put the time into this that you need to, and you address, then you send it back to us. Don't send it to us and say, well, do you think I'm on the right track? Remember, you are already graduate students, so you should be able to think beyond that. That doesn't mean we're not there to help you and that we're not going to answer questions if you're bogged down with something. But I think you get the message. Make sure that when you submit it to us the first time, that it's as quality as you can possibly make it. You should think of it as being a completed document the first time. And I'm going to tell you, that's so important because of the quick turnaround of these tasks. So, that's so important. Dr. Revis, any comment on that before we move forward? Can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I muted myself. Let's talk about where they submit their
Okay, I can, and I'm going to review.
AAPSL.
Yeah, I'm going.
We're going
to review AAPSL Task 1 again briefly. But when you get ready to turn it in, I want you to look in Blackboard and look at this section. It says AAPSL Task for Review. This is where you're going to put all AAPSL tasks for review at this point. That's for Dr. Revis and me, and that's for your peers. Okay, you click on that. It says create form. You see, that's where you did your contact information. AAPSL Task 1 peer and instructor review. You create form. And you simply put AAPSL Task 1 for review, or however you want to title it. It gives you the opportunity to write a message to Dr. Revis and me, and to your peers if you want to. You don't have to if it's something that you need to put there. A lot of students want to clarify something there, and that's okay. And then once you do that, you have saved your Task 1 as a Word document. Remember what I said, as a Word document. And you have named it AAPSL Task 1, and make sure that you identify it when you save it as you need to have some type of system so that when you go back in there, that you're not confused with what you've got saved in your files, so that you're not uploading the wrong information later on. But once you decide you've saved it, you've given it, you're ready to turn it in, and what you do is you will, where am I?
I think
Okay.
maybe you're on the, I think you have to go down under Task 1. Go back just a little ways.
You're right. You're right. Let me go back. I'm sorry.
Now, guys.
One.
Okay, right there. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I hit the wrong thing. You see Jeffrey's name there. Jeffrey has completed his. So his peers can go in there and already look at the work that Jeffrey's done, and go ahead, and whoever is on his team can actually, after Dr. Revis explains things tonight, go ahead and begin working on their peer review on Jeffrey's work. But then you create a thread. This is where you put your title. comments, if you want to make comments or tell us anything, you browse your local files and you find your Word document, you upload it, and then you submit. And then it goes to the discussion board. I will look at it, Dr. Revis will look at it if you're in her class, and then a minimum of 2 of your peers is going to look at that work as well. Now, this is your opportunity to fix whatever needs to be fixed, and you can resubmit it once it's all cleaned up and ready, but it must go through the peer review process first. Now, I told somebody today, your peer, and Dr. Revis will talk about this more, peers are important. You're learning how to provide effective and constructive feedback to your peers, because as a principal, you're going to be doing it to teachers. So this is a learning process. It's a learning curve. Many people have problems with this, don't they, Dr. Revis? But you've got to learn how to do it. Now,
and we'll show you some good examples.
And Dr. Revis is going to do that. Now, let's just say, for instance, Tanya and Dr. Revis are the peers for Jeffrey's work. Well, Jeffrey looks at their feedback, and Jeffrey doesn't always agree with his peers on everything, and that's okay. You don't have to, but guess who you can't not agree with? And raise your hand, Dr. Revis. You have whatever we say, it's the period at the end of the sentence, okay? Now, if you have a question about what we're asking you to do, it's okay to reach out to us. And, we will explain it. And you know what? I will tell you, if I'm telling you something wrong, and I try not to, and if Dr. Rivers will say, oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that or whatever. But for the most part, whatever we tell you is only going to help you to have a more accomplished final product when you get ready to submit it. Now, when you go through this process, just remember, you get an opportunity to send it back to us after Dr. Revis and I have looked at it, and we've given you a grade on it. And your grade the first time, it could be a 90, it could be an 80, it could be a 70 or whatever. But when you send it back to us, you have the opportunity to turn that into 100. Now, think about this. If the work you have turned in for peer and instructor review ends up being 100, when we tell you to submit it to the AAPSL Dropbox for a final grade, guess what your final grade should be? 100. So you see how easy it is to be successful if you listen to us and you do what you're supposed to do and get your work in a timely manner. Now, if work is late, guess what? We're going to put late assignment on there, and guess what? I don't care if it's letter perfect. You've got everything. It looks like it could go in the Library of Congress. You're not going to get 100 on it. We expect the work to be in, and that's not fair to your peers that have worked and done what they're supposed to do in a timely manner. Okay, before we go any further, is everybody good with how to submit your AAPSL Task 1 peer and instructor review? Is everybody good with that?
I'm sorry. It's storming really bad over here where I'm at, and I lost power the whole entire time.
Okay.
Do you mind showing me again, or if it takes too long, I'll
just... It'll take too much time to go back over it again, but remember, this is being recorded.
Okay, thank you.
And if you have a problem with it individually, just reach out to either Dr. Revis or me, okay? Okay, just reach out to us individually if you need to.
Okay, thank you.
So once again, guys, it's a routine that you're going to get into. You turn your work in on Sunday night for review, task 1 for review. We're going to immediately start reviewing it. We give you feedback. We will give you feedback at least by midday Monday. I guarantee you, Dr. Stedman will have you feedback before Sunday night before he goes to bed. He's much quicker at it than I am. Then, if you have to do any revisions, you've got to turn that back in that same thread by Thursday. That way we can look at it again, and hopefully after that one revision, you're ready for final submission on the following Sunday, or as soon as we get back with you after we review it again. Now, just be sure that if we tell you to do something, you need to do this, this, or this, that you take care of this, this, and this. We don't have time to review it 2 and 3 times. We'll review it one time, tell you what you need to do to improve it, to get 100, or to get what we think is to an acceptable level, and then let's move on. Revise it and let's move on.
Now, just remember, you always should strive for accomplished work. That's as high as you can get. But we will never, ever tell you to move on if we don't think that your work is not at least proficient. Okay?
And that's from the rubric that the state scorer uses. Right. Our goal is to try to get you to accomplish, but if after a revision or 2, it's not, we feel like you're proficient, we're going to move you on. Okay.
Okay. Dr. Revis, that's as far as I'm going to go on Blackboard at this time, because when you get to the peer review process, there's some things that you're going to show them there. I want to go at this time, I want us to just do a quick review of AAPSL Task 1. So I'm going to bring up, first of all, I'm going to bring up a document that's just a quick look at it. Okay. And this is a reminder. Now, we've gone through all of this several times already. Just remember, your school profile is the first thing that you're going to have your cover sheet, and it says my name here, and you're going to put your name on that. Then your school profile. Remember, your school profile is the story of your school. It's all about your school. In the completed AAPSL sample in Blackboard under AAPSL templated materials, there's an example of what a school profile looks like. In your AAPSL helpful hints document, there is an example of what the school profile should look like. And remember, once you get the school profile done, unless you move to another school, unless something changes, this school profile will follow you throughout this entire program. So you only have to do the school profile one time if you do it right. Then the next the next area heading was your PLC research, and I apologize, that should be a capital R right there, with a minimum of 3 sources, and one of them must be a reference from Richard DeFord. Now, what am I doing here? All you're doing is talking about what is a PLC? What does a good PLC look like? How is a good PLC conducted? What are the norms, etc.? And this is all according to what the research says. Thirdly, your PLC should be 4 to 5 members. Your PLC committee, there's a heading there, are selected and listed. You list them, and you why did you choose them? What are their strengths? What are their educational credentials and other things? In other words, those 4 or 5 people, why were they the people that you decided would most help you in this journey to help get this work accomplished and to get it accomplished effectively? You had to have a reason for that. And just a reminder, don't get negative Nancy's on your team. Don't get people that's going to bog the process down and make your life miserable. Get people that you know will work with you and are going to be positive and move forward. It doesn't mean that you're getting all yes people. You want some people that may challenge you in what you're doing, but it's also people that you can work with. And then lastly, you're going to have your PLC meeting. You're going to meet with them. Now, so this meeting is not for you to begin discussing what, you know, what you think the problem is and this and that. That's coming. All you're going to do is you're going to thank them for serving on your team. The purpose and the mission of what this PLC is, you're going to, the vision and the purpose, you're going to establish norms and other things that are pertinent to getting everything. So you're going to talk about, you know, when you plan to meet, you know, basically try to plan a regular day to meet and, you know, how long it's going to be. With this, you may want to, I would consider getting somebody to serve as a scribe, you know, for the meeting, to keep up with the notes, somebody to keep everybody on task. You know, you can set those kind of responsibilities with it. Then you're going to, all your references go next. I've said it, and just remember, and this will come out in APA, everything else, your headings are aligned to the left. Your reference title is centered in the middle. And then you're going to put your references in there according to APA. Guess how many you're going to have at a minimum? How many references? You're going to have a minimum of 3 because of your research in the first day. You can have more than that, and you may have more than that, but you're going to have a minimum of 3. And then your appendices, and you need to make sure you put that heading there, appendices, and it's going to be centered as well. And at a minimum, the appendices will be the email that that you send to your site administrator, asking permission to do the PLC and the affirmative response back, or thanking them for the face-to-face meeting and them affirming back with that. And you'll make copies of that, pictures of that, and you'll put that as an appendix in that section. That should really be the first thing that you do. And then other things that you want, you know, you never have a meeting without an agenda. You should have an agenda for every meeting that you have, and we should see evidence of that. I would say have minutes of the meeting, a sign-in roster to prove that people are there. And you know what I would do? I would have somebody take a picture of me presenting. That's proof, and I would put that in there as well. Now, you know, you don't need it all the time, but every now and then, you know, it serves as something good. And then in the last thing, did you follow a template with correct headings and subheadings and APA 7th edition? Now, very quickly, I want to remind you of some things now all of this is found in Blackboard under AAPSL template and materials. Just a reminder. Remember what we said. Now, once now all of this up here in black, you're gonna duplicate this. You're gonna make everything that's written in black, that's gonna be included in the work that you turn in. Now, this is for information only. Once you do what it tells you to do, what should you do with this? You should delete it. Take this out. All of this that I'm circling right here is information only. Now, anytime you see something that is highlighted in yellow, guess what? It means you've got to write something. That's narrative work. But nothing should be submitted to us in your task and your work that's highlighted in yellow. You take it out. Now, if once you see some red instructions, all of this, these are helpful hints. These are reminders. These are things that you can add to the narrative work. Once, once you decide what you're going to do and what you're not going to do, you delete that red writing. And then remember, all text in black stays. You do not change the template format. You don't change anything. You do it just like it is, and then you insert your work.
And by the way, Gardner Webb requires that our work be done in Times New Roman 12-point font. And everything is double spaced, just like you see in your helpful hints document.
I have a question.
Okay, is it something that can wait until the end, Quintina?
It just, well, it could.
Okay,
I just-
let's hold it to the end, and then let's address them then. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Ravis, I'm going to move on. Everybody should be good. We'll stop my share. Everybody should be good to go with what's expected. Remember, task 1 is due no later than Sunday evening at 6 o'clock. However, if you get it done before Sunday, by all means, go ahead and turn it in, and you will get quicker feedback from Dr. Revis and me if you can get it to us before Sunday evening at 6 o'clock. At this time, Dr. Revis is going to talk to you about the peer review process. That does not, well, Dr. Revis, you go ahead. I'll hush.
Will you jump in at any time?
Okay, no.
So you're going to be doing 2 peer reviews. So Sunday evening, everybody's work is in. And we're going to go to your peer review teams in just a moment. But I want to just share with you this little 4-page slide deck is just talking about the purpose, why we do it. So first of all, Dr. Stedman has mentioned this before. You have been very accustomed as a classroom teacher, giving feedback to your students. But you may not have been accustomed and feel comfortable with giving feedback to adults. So as a principal, you're working with teachers now, not students. So we want you to become very comfortable in giving adults quality feedback. And the reason we want to give them feedback is it will help your peers improve their work. And it also gives you an opportunity to see the work of others. So you may get some ideas on how to improve your work. Now, here's some things that we keep in mind. And this comes from Todd Whitaker's 5 things that help praise work. So our feedback needs to be authentic and true. I say be direct, be straightforward, and you can give direct feedback without being ugly or having an attitude, but it needs to be true and authentic. It needs to be specific. Be very specific with your feedback. We are going to score you on the feedback that you give others. And if it's not specific, we're going to ding you on it. We know when we give feedback to our students, it has to be specific. Otherwise, it's not meaningful. It needs to be timely, immediate. And that's why by 6 o'clock p.m., you already need to think in your mind, Sunday evening, I'm going to be doing peer reviews. Now, they're going to take you a little time in the beginning. You will get quicker with them. And it needs to be clean, not attached to something else. Let's say you're reviewing Kathy's I'm in your Zoom group and you're reviewing my work. And after a couple times, you know I'm a lousy writer. And you know it's your time again to review my work. You have to put aside your preconceived notions about my writing and your previous experiences with my writing, and you need to come at it again with fresh eyes and with that authenticity and specificity that we need in order to help me get better. And of course, it needs to be private and confidential. So, again, Sunday evening, you go into your team members, and I'll show you an example, and you start providing feedback to two of your team members, and you guys kind of decide who's going to review who. These need to be back in the discussion board, and they're for your peers and for us by Tuesday before class. Okay, so I'm going to stop my PowerPoint, and I want to go to our peer review teams. Now, remember, this is my course shell. So I have 4 teams, and 3 of them have 4 people each, and 1 has 5. So one of the things I want you to do is email each other and somebody decide how we're going to do this first cycle of peer reviews. For example, Jasmine may say, okay, I'm going to be the lead on this. I'm going to review Elizabeth and Catherine's. Elizabeth, you review mine and Catherine's. Catherine, you review Elizabeth and Quintina. You see how this goes? You're just going to round robin so that everybody is doing 2 peer reviews and everybody is receiving 2 peer reviews. Now, I want to go back. While I'm here in Blackboard, let me show you where you submit your peer reviews. This is a little tricky, so please, please listen up if I can find it. Dr. Stedman, you may have to help me find it. Peer review materials.
Okay, going back up, Dr. Revis.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to no, you're going too fast for me. Come on down. Okay. Go to
Right.
right, yeah,
No.
yeah. No.
No.
Peer review Dropbox right there. AAPSL peer review Dropbox. Come on up. Up. Stop.
There we go. I'm blind. I'm sorry. Okay. So when you're giving feedback to your 2 peers, you click here. And you're first going to do your task 1, peer review 1. And look, here's the other one. Task 1, peer review 2. There are 2 separate drop boxes, 1 for each of your peers. All right.
And then again, you save it as a Word document and you upload it.
Create submission and upload. Now that is how your peers get your feedback. Now here's how Dr. Stedman and I see your feedback so that we can give you feedback on your feedback, if that makes sense.
Well, that's we actually give them a grade.
We do. You get a grade. This will be an easy grade for you. All right, right here. AAPSL completed peer review Dropbox. That's where you click to turn them in to Dr. Stedman and me.
And it's the same
thing.
So whoever you the two that you did, your AAPSL task peer review, one for your peer, you submit it to them, and then you come over here and you submit it to Dr. Revis or me. You do the same thing with number 2. You submit it in 2 different places. One for a grade and one for your peers to review.
Okay.
Dr. Revis, while you're going down there, show them the AAPSL here. Show them how far they need to go and not to go any further.
Don't go past this right here.
Because what happens many times, people will go down below and they'll get the APTEL instead of submitting it to the AAPSL peer review or the apps. They go to the APTEL and they submit it in the wrong place. They're waiting for us to grade and whatever, and then we don't know that you've submitted it to the wrong place. So make sure that you do not go anywhere near the APTEL at this point, because we're not dealing with it. Okay, that's important.
So you got 2 places for peer reviews, one for your peers, one for us. Now, so much for that. What do they need to look like? There is, this is all in week 2. There's a standardized template that you're going to use. And I'm going to start off first by showing you a non-example. I'm not sure if that's a word, Dr. Stedman, but I like it.
I do too.
Now, again, the first 2 or 3 times you do this, it is going to take you a little bit. It's going to take you a minute. Okay, you put your name here. I am reviewing Dr. Stedman's work. You review it based on content. Is it aligned to the rubric? You're going to then give him comments about what you feel like is strength of his paper, weaknesses. You're going to give him feedback on how he's demonstrated leadership. You're going to give him feedback on his grammar and mechanics, his organization of the paper, and APA formatting. Now, I want you to look at this.
Remember, this is not a good review right here. It's not
I want you to look at
review.
his feedback. Do you think Dr. Stedman can improve with this kind of feedback that I've given him? Not at all. Great job. Great organization. Congrats on being an AP. Thank you for a great. No. If you do something like this, we send it back and you get a 0. You do not get to revise your peer reviews. Let me say that again. You don't get to revise your peer reviews. Now, let me show you a good example. That was the non-example. Here's a good one. I'm reviewing Dr. Stedman again. And I want you to just take a glance at it first of all. Did I not spend a lot of time on this as opposed to the first one I showed you? Yeah. Different, very different. So I tell him what I felt like was the strength of his content or alignment to the rubric. Notice how I give an explanation that's specific, points out weaknesses, but offers suggestions. Then I look at the rubric. I've taken even different pieces of the rubric and made comments. Now here it's supposed to be for strengths. In this section, it's about areas for improvement. I tell him specifically, you might want to include some external demographic information. Again, specifically speaking to the percentage of each racial group, median household income, whatever. Giving specific with staff diversity, you may want to include the number of teachers in the department and the probably the percentage of male versus female, etc. Student achievement, a brief analysis with explaining those statistics.
Dr. Revis,
And
this is the section many times that students, because they don't want to address it, they'll say none noted. That's not acceptable.
everybody's got some way they can improve.
Okay.
Even Dr. Stedman, I bet you I
Absolutely.
could support him and help him be a stronger writer or improve his work.
Exactly.
There's a comment about leadership, again, specific. Grammar mechanics. Look at the citations, and I even tell him where to go. Your first and third citation is wrong. Organization. Again, I'm telling him to look back specifically at what section to make it flow a little bit better. And the PLC research section reads like an annotated bibliography instead of a mini research section. You may want to recheck your APA format for in-text citations. I see a few errors. Again, giving them somewhere specific they can go to and the formatting of figure 2. This is what we need. Now, you know, Danny may not like it, but guess what? He could take this information and if he used it, his paper and writing and his product would be stronger. And that's what we're here about. Dr. Stedman, what have I forgotten on the peer review process?
Nothing. I just want to remind, now you'll find, scroll back up, Dr. Revis. Everything that she's talked about is under week 2 in Blackboard. Scroll back down again, Dr. Revis, and I want you to look at all of those are resources for you. All the way to going down a little bit further. Again, I want you to look. All of this is stuff that you can refer back to. And if you go back to week 1, go back to week 1. I want to show them. Scroll down. I want you to look at all this stuff that again. Come on down. Okay, there. What is? Come on down some more. All of
I
these.
think this is
Okay, that's
as far as I can go.
Okay, all of those are resources that you can use. Dr. Revis, while you're there, go to the AAPSL helpful hints and documents section again. I want to remind them templated materials. Yeah.
Okay.
Click on that.
Guys, this is a place where you really
Okay. I want you to look come on down. I want you to look at all the stuff down there. PLC norms. PLC for your research that you had to do for task 1, a lot of the stuff was right there for you. I mean, just lots of excellent stuff. And you'll be able to refer to this, and we'll add to that, you know, throughout the semester if we find other stuff that's that's good. We will add to that. Dr. Revis, while you're there, let's look at. Come on down a little bit. I want to see if it's there. DeFore. Okay, right there. DeFore's what is a profession? We just added that this week. No, the one above that. Okay, that may not be the one that we added this week. That is not the one.
okay. Be this one.
That may be the one. That's not found. That one's lost. That week we got to go back in. That was the one that was lost. Go into week 2. Somebody made me aware. Okay. No.
Why does it keep doing that, Dr. Stedman?
Okay.
I keep
Okay.
getting an error. Let me go out of this. Hold on.
Right. Okay. Now go to week 2. Okay. Yeah. Slow down a little bit. Let me see if that's anyway. I can't remember where going up. It's not down there. It's near the top.
I think I put it in the AAPSL template
Okay.
and materials.
I'm looking at your shell. That's why. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The AAPSL template and material say. Anyway, there is an excellent an excellent resource on the 4 and PLCs that you can refer back to as well that we just put in there this week. So you need to make sure that you're looking at all of those resources and availing yourself to them as much as possible. Okay.
You want me to stop sharing, you pick up?
Yes, stop sharing for just a minute, Dr. Revis.
Okay.
Okay, again, the peer review process, it starts before next Tuesday once work is submitted this Sunday evening by 6 o'clock. Now, if people on your team submits work before Sunday at 6 o'clock, then that's your advantage. You have a chance to look at that and get started on the peer review process. However, if they wait until Sunday at 6 o'clock, then that's something that you must have completed between Sunday at 6 o'clock and Tuesday by 6 o'clock before class on 7 o'clock. All that work must be in with the peer reviews when peer reviews are due. And you'll have a peer review for task 1, task 2, task 3, and task 4 of the AAPSL, but you will not for task 5. So the next 4 weeks, you will be doing peer reviews with the AAPSL. Then you'll have a few weeks break, and then we'll start on the next evidence. But these next 4 weeks are going to be pretty intense with your peer reviews. Okay. Okay. Everything you need is right there. All the examples, the follow, and the first time it's going to be a little bit harder because you're not used to this. Once you go through it, the next time it'll be easier. The second time it'll be actually by the time you get to the third one, I've had students to say, I'm looking for a new way of trying to say things now. And you have to do that when you're providing feedback. Feedback is not an easy process, is it, Dr. Revis?
It's not.
It's not an easy process, and it's not one that many people like to do. But as an administrator, it's a very essential part of what you have to do. Very essential. So the purpose of this is you're giving feedback to your peer, but the biggest asset to learning how to peer review is that you're learning how to provide and give effective feedback, because as an administrator, you've got to do it. So that's our role, is to help get you ready and prepare you for that opportunity whenever that is your responsibility. Okay. And again, I told you, we said that it was a lot tonight, but we have no choice but to unveil all of this to help you get started and to figure out, you've got to figure out your work schedule based on on all of this. Even though you're working on task 1, we have to introduce you to task 2. And we'll always be doing that. We'll be closing out on one and introducing another one all at the same time. Now, this is because there are students already that are sitting ready to start on task 2. So we can't hold back. Remember, in task 1, your responsibility was to talk about what a PLC looks like, to establish your team, your PLC team, and then to meet with them and get things going with your PLC. With task 2, you're actually going to begin work with your PLC. And this is what you're going to do. Look at task 2 again. Remember, if it's in yellow, that means you got to write something. Task 2, prompt 1. Make sure you read the description and instruction carefully. Your first heading is going to be data collection strategies. You will work with the selected PLC team formed in task 1 to determine the strategies that's going to be used to collect the data to determine the most pressing need for improving student achievement. Remember, we told you don't go in there with preconceived ideas. You may think that it may be something, but it may be something else. And at the end of the process, it may be exactly what you thought it was going to be. But you've got to go through the process. So you're going to decide as a team, this is the task. We've got to find the most pressing need at our school. So what kind of strategies are you going to put in place with this team to determine how you're going to find the data, collect the data, to be able to begin looking at the most pressing need? Okay, I'm looking at Elizabeth. Elizabeth's leading her team. Elizabeth may say, out of the 4 or 5 people on her team, she may say, Teacher A, what is it that you feel like you can do to bring to the table? Teacher 2, what can you bring to the table? Teacher 3, what can you bring to the table? But guess what Elizabeth's going to do? Before she does that, Elizabeth's going to, as the leader, she's going to already bring some ideas and things to the table. Elizabeth and I have already talked. And so she actually is a literacy coach, right, Elizabeth? She's a literacy coach, so she's already doing some of this. So I told her to already bring to the table some of the things that she's done. But I told her, I said, even as a literacy coach, there may be some things that you haven't even thought about that somebody else can think about. So you're going to bring it all to the table. So these are going to be your strategies. You're going to decide, and you're going to put a plan in place so that you can get what you need. Okay? And this is an example of talking. This actually happened. This is what this person did with their team. And so this explains it. Yours, can be much more than that. It can be something similar to that, but the examples are there. Then, after you've done that, the next thing that you do is, the heading is the criteria and process for identifying the most pressing need. Now, once you and the team have determined the strategies for collecting the data, you're going to decide what criteria and process will be used for identifying the most pressing need. In other words, you got all this stuff. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with all this stuff that you've got? And you don't have to decide as the leader. You lead, but your team and you make a decision. So you're going to narratively talk about process. When our PLC initially met for the first time, we discussed analyzing the current data that was available in order to observe trends that stood out to us. And then it goes on and talks about that. Number 3, the heading is collaborative data analysis. Look at that first word, collaborative. That means that Elizabeth's not going to be doing it by herself. It's going to be with her team. Once steps 1 and 2 have been completed, the team and you will take a detailed look of all the data that has been gathered. You're going to take all the puzzle pieces, you're going to lay them on the table, and you're going to thoroughly disaggregate that data. You're going to look at all the groups, the subgroups, etc. You're going to turn it every angle that you possibly can. Now, again, what Dr. Revis sees and brings out may be something entirely different than what I see and bring out. But when the 4 or 5 people in that team put all those thoughts together, then that's where the collaboration comes in, and that's where you thoroughly do that data dive and that data analysis. And then all you do is talk about that process here. You narratively talk about, you say that I led the team to, or the team and I did so and so. You always put yourself as the leader, but you always include the team. And then after you do that, you're gonna keep taking. You're gonna take this part, and you're going to after you're analyzing, you're gonna put this part away. You're gonna put this part away. You're gonna put this part away. You're gonna put this part away until at the very end, you're probably going to come up with one puzzle piece. And that's going to be number 4. Your heading is most pressing need. Once step 3 has been completed, the team and you will determine the most pressing need based on the collaborative data analysis. And the narrative work for this section will identify the most pressing need and why. Now I want you to look. Once PLC determined during the second meeting that the most pressing need was 8th grade mathematics, as mentioned earlier. And then they go on and tell why. Now, it could be a specific area in 8th grade mathematics that your data shows that 8th grade mathematics is pretty broad. I would try to narrow the focus even more, based on what it says. But then you talk about, you say the most pressing need is, and then you tell why. Why did you come up with that decision? Okay, Dr. Revis, then they have task 2, if you'll take it from there.
Okay, so task 1, you're narratively telling the story of what happened in your second PLC meeting. This is your data dive. In task 2, you're going to tell the story graphically. You're going to pull together, you can take screenshots of most of this information off your report cards to show the tables and the graphs that you guys looked at in your data analysis. And you're going to format them correctly with APA, and you're going to, talk about what the figures represent. Now, just put a figure of, 3rd grade reading up there without any kind of narrative around it. Your narrative has to at least explain what the figure is about and what it's showing, and, what information the team pulled from that. So notice this is plural. Figures, plural. You should have more than one. If you're looking at, let's say you're looking at 3rd grade reading or just reading in general, you may start out at looking at your school-wide scores, your proficiency, and then you may look at it by grade level, and then you may get it to subgroups. You may look at your growth. You need to look at growth as well as performance. Particularly those of you in North Carolina, because we depend so much on that growth for our school performance grades. But you need to look at both, but you decide what data you're going to look at, you pull it, you examine it, and you identify your most pressing need. That's a lot to do in one PLC meeting. A lot. Hopefully, you have established your PLC meetings like Monday afternoon, Tuesday, or Wednesday, so that you will have time to meet with them. And then that gives you the rest of the week to work on writing up your narrative and putting it together.
Okay.
Did I miss anything there, Dr. Stedman?
No, and again, we will go over this, we will go over task 2 again next Tuesday. However, it's important that you already know what you've got to do next, begin thinking about. And there's some of you that's ready for task 2 already, you're working with it. So, we're not going to hold anybody back, but just remember, you cannot procrastinate on you've got to put a system in place, and you've got to be able to move, seamlessly from one task to the next, or else you get behind. And it's easy to get behind with all of this. So
And it's not unusual for some teams to meet twice
right.
that week. Once to decide what data to collect, and then secondly, to do your data analysis on it.
Right. And again, your meetings are more intense at the beginning of this process. You will continue to meet, but they won't be as intense as you move through the process. But the beginning, the meetings are pretty intense. But again, you've got enough, how to move forward. And again, you remember you've got the completed AAPSL example that's in your AAPSL template and material section. Go back and look at that. You've got guides to go by, and but again, I can't stress enough, don't procrastinate on this. But your focus this week, you've got to
Dr. Stedman, you're going out.
Okay. Can you hear me
You're
now?
going out a little bit. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now? Okay. It's cloudy outside. So you've got to finish task 1 first, but as soon as you get with task 1, don't take a breath. You got to move on to task 2 and get started with it and plan with it. So, Dr. Revis, I think in closing, because we've given them a lot, but I think what I want you to do too is that last thing that we've got on the agenda. They need to know how to at least begin thinking and looking at their clinical internship. So if you would pull up that information and at least show them where they can go find things, and we probably can talk about it in more detail next Tuesday night, but at least they know where to get started and have a guide to go with.
Okay. So a couple places you can go about your clinical. That's why it's so important, friends, you meet with that clinical coach ASAP. Right here, and this is MSA handbooks and competency folio resources. Of course, you can find your handbooks, and it talks about the MSA requirements here. And then down here are some more resources, MSA clinical internship resources. Okay. I want to show you one quick thing. Do you mind, Dr. Stedman?
No, go ahead. I think they need to see it.
I want to show you an example of your log. If you recall, you've got to get 200 hours of clinical work completed this semester. You get to count 100 hours, and I will show you more in detail later, from the artifact evidence work from your AAPSL, what you're working on now, and your APTL. But this is our log. If you notice the date, and I like it to run chronologically, you notice it's all typed. I require you to type it. And then you've got a description of the activity. Notice I always recommend that you begin that brief description with a verb that tells me or your clinical coach your level of participation. Did you meet with somebody? Did you co-lead? Did you supervise? What did you do? And that goes all the way through. This is the area, and there are 3 big areas that you have to demonstrate: leadership, supervision, and technical. The majority, up to 70% of your time, needs to be in leadership. What did Dr. Lamb say about supervision? Once you've done bus duty, there's not but 2 things to remember. Don't get run over and wear a coat long enough to cover your fanny, I think is what he said. So we limit you to less than, I think it's less than 10% of your time in
And
supervision.
that's all spelled out on that other document that
Yeah.
I'll refer back to in just a minute.
And then you've got your technical knowledge. All right. So this is just a column for you and for us to look through real quickly and see if you're getting enough leadership. I'm going to make sure you're not doing a lot of supervision. The competency and the proof columns are optional. They are more or less for you to keep up with the competencies that you're demonstrating, which helps you build your competency folio. We've not talked about competencies yet. Okay, so don't worry about that one right now. This proof column is a column for you to know saved an artifact. Now, you cannot get an artifact for everything in your clips. You just can't do it. But I always say, get artifacts for the ones that lend themselves readily to having artifacts. For example, if you co-lead the student orientation, you've got an agenda somewhere that somebody created. And then, of course, on your far right-hand side, your hours. Now, notice I said you can count up to 10 hours in your task 1. It's not going to let me do that. So look at this third entry. I researched most recent school report card and accreditation report information to use in my school profile. That took me 2 hours. I can count that for my clinical work, and I've also got to do it anyway. I prepared an agenda, sent out invitations for our first PLC meeting for the AAPSL Task 1. That took me 2 hours. Look back up here, the second entry. I met with my principal to discuss the scope of the AAPSL, received permission, discuss PLC members. That took me an hour. And then down here, led my AAPSL PLC meeting to set vision, norms, meeting dates, and types of data to discuss. You're really not supposed to go into that piece, but I forgot and did it anyway. It's not a real bad idea. It kind of puts you ahead if you'll do that. But that took me 1.5 hours. Then I typed up meeting notes from that meeting, and I sent out meeting notes to everybody and next steps. All right. Then for task 2, I'm going to meet with testing coordinator to retrieve the most recent testing data. Then I'm going to disaggregate it. And that disaggregation took me 3 hours. So you see how you can build hours through your evidence work, but you also have to do other hours as well. Now, I also have, I didn't tell you this, Dr. Simon, but I made just a quick slide deck from your
Okay.
work.
Okay.
And put it right here.
Okay. And she'll send it to me and I'll put it in my shells.
Now, this covers whether you're a 3 semester or a 5 semester. Starts out with 5. Let me get to the 3 semester. 200 hours in each fall and spring semesters, 100 in the summer. Of site-based clinical experiences from the list of suggested clinical activities. The suggested clinical activities are broken into those 3 areas: leadership, technical, and supervision. And of course, they have to be logged and signed off by your site mentor. 100 hours can come from the evidence work from your AAPSL and AAPSL. You got to provide that evidence on your template. And here's how it's broken down. For AAPSL Task 1, you should be able to get 10 hours. Task 2, 10, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to give you 5 hours for building your competency folio when we get there. And then you've got similarly over here for the APTEL. Now, there's a little caveat here. You got some remaining 100 hours, 70 hours from leadership, 20 hours from technical, and 10 hours from supervision.
Have nothing to do with the APSL and the APTEL.
Okay. This comes from your other 100 hours. So we're going to force you up here. All right. We're forcing you out of your comfort zone. In week 7, we're going to check your logs to see if you've got 50% or 100 hours done. Guys, this is week 2. You can't wait. Your planning period now is going to have to be doing some clinical work. And then we'll look at for the other 100 hours at the end of week 13. And I'm not going to go on down and through here, Dr.
Right.
Stedman. I'm not. It takes you all the way through your 3 semesters. So I'm not going to do that.
We'll be referring back to this time and time again. We're just showing you where you can go so you can begin. You can look at it yourself because you need to become acclimated to it yourself and know what you've got to do. This spells out your requirements for you.
Now, notice on that log example, I did not have anything about it took me 3 hours to write my evidence narrative. No, can't count that. When you're actually writing up and preparing your evidence work to turn in for the class, you cannot count that as part of your clinical.
But anything that you're doing, leading the APSL, pulling resources and materials together, as a part of it, to lead your team, all of that can count. But
preparing your agendas, preparing resources to bring to the meeting,
but doing
organizing the meeting.
But doing your personal research and your personal writing, that's your homework, and that is a part of the requirements for the class, not clinical work. I know this
We
is
have covered a lot, Dr. Stedman.
it's a lot, but we had no choice but to go ahead and lay it out to you. Now, I know you've got to comprehend a lot of this. The main focus right now is remember, you've got to complete task 1. It must be submitted no later than 6 o'clock on Sunday evening. And then you must do your 2 peer reviews that are due no later than next Tuesday before class by 6 o'clock. 2 of them go to your peers, and Dr. Revis showed you where you submitted them. And then those same 2 go to either Dr. Revis and me for a final grade. There's 2 different places that you place them. And they will be due by next Tuesday. Once you finish task 1, begin preparing task 2 and go ahead and go ahead and schedule your PLC to meet and start pulling the information that you need to lead that PLC. Go ahead and get that done.
And quite honestly, when you meet with your PLC this week, if you've not already done so, you need to go ahead and schedule that meeting next week for Monday or Tuesday of next week for your task 2.
Those of you on the East Coast, that with the storm, you need to take the storm in consideration, and you need to go ahead and make plans in case you're not in school. You know, how are you going to handle things? Because you still, you know, next Sunday's still coming and next Tuesday's coming. So, you know, don't wait. Go ahead and plan and have a plan in place for that. Okay. Okay. If you are good to go, you can go. And Dr. Revis and I are going to sit here for just a little while, and we're going to answer questions.
May I ask one thing? I don't like doing this, but I cannot find one of my candidates, Cassandra Breland. If you are online, put something in the chat to me. If you know anything about Cassandra, put it in the chat to me if you don't mind.
Okay, Dr. Revis, Elizabeth, hold your thought a minute. And Adrian, hold your thought. Dr. Revis, go back while you've got it and show one more time the 2 places for submitting peer reviews.
Okay, let me see if I can find it, Dr. Stedman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, go to show them where they put the 2 peer reviews for their peers first.
Why can't I see this? I am just, there's where you put them for us, where it says completed peer review. Those go to us for us to score and grade
Okay,
your
come on
feedback.
up. Come on up. No.
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
Let me go back. Okay.
Okay, come on up. Come on up. Come on up. Right there.
Right there.
Okay.
That's the AAPSL. Where is, that's for us.
That's the
Yeah, I went
actual
down to look.
completed that's the completed peer review Dropbox. And then now go for that's the completed, that's for us,
That's for us.
right?
Yeah, I didn't ever see another one, so that was
There
confusing
is.
to me.
We opened up both of them.
We did a minute ago. I don't see it though.
We did. Come on down. Unless it's moved itself.
I'm getting into
Is
the
there-
AAPSL stuff now.
So go on up.
It's right above the one that we submit to you. It's right above it.
Task AAPSL, that's the task. That's the AAPSL task for review.
That's not the same thing.
That's not peer reviews.
That's not the peer review. You showed it to us before, Dr. Revis.
What have I done?
I think that whenever you showed it to us before, the app tool is what we looked at, because I went back and looked after you made the comment about not going all the way down. And that was the only one that was there.
The
Is
app,
the,
okay, well, show them the app tool, and then Dr. Revis, we will have to go in and put the app. So for some reason, I don't know why it's not there, but it's supposed to be there.
I'm sorry. We'll go look at that.
Okay, I have
And
no
we
idea.
will email you when we get it fixed and tell
Oh,
you
it'll
where.
be fixed. It'll be fixed tonight.
I can't
Uh,
I can't see it.
And that was what I was like, I didn't see that anywhere.
okay,
So-
okay. Well, I wish some told us that.
Is-
Penny, there should be a okay.
Is it
I
on your
see
screen?
I see the AAPSL completed peer review Dropbox. Yes, I do see it's on mine.
What's it above on yours?
The AAPSL assignment Dropbox.
Well, that's where
It
my
was there a few
complete.
minutes ago, Dr. Revis. I don't know what happened to it.
Okay,
It
I don't know.
disappeared.
It was there because you opened it.
Adrian, I
Maybe
think I
stop-
must have done
stop-
something
Stop
to it.
sharing, Dr. Revis. Stop sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just messing everybody up.
No,
I'll
you're-
get it
Yeah.
fixed, guys.
Stop sharing and then let me do this. Okay, let me take this down. Okay, course overview. Okay. And watch me not have it on here now. AAPSL Task, AAPSL completed peer review Dropbox, AAPSL. I don't declare. I thought you.
On your end, is there a drop-down menu? Because like if you go to the completed peer review box and scroll over that, you have a little down arrow.
That's the AAPSL completed peer review. AAPSL.
I didn't know.
We will fix it, but it's going to be the same thing as the AAPSL.
See, I don't see one there either.
Well, somehow it has, Dr. Revis, I have no idea how it's gone. Look, guys, there's going to be two places, and it will be
Okay.
your AAPSL. But I'm seeing it on this one. The AAPSL completed is on AAPSL Task for Review template. Anyway, we will fix it, and then we will give you instructions about what you're supposed to do there. We apologize, but there's going to be two places, and you should have no problem being able to, because you upload it just like you do the AAPSL completed, and I will put them right above each other so they're right there together. Okay, and we'll send you some information. We apologize for that. Stop share, okay. Adrian?
So a couple things really quickly. One, the weather. I am in Columbia, South Carolina. They just told us today that we're going to be on a half day on tomorrow, and then we're have a delayed on Thursday. I was supposed to do my meeting on tomorrow, so it's going to be delayed to get in to do my PLC meeting. So I was trying to figure out how that's going to work, because I probably won't be able to meet until next week.
If the weather if you still have internet connection, you can always do it virtually with them.
While they're at home?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can try, but I don't know if they're going to agree to that. That's the whole thing.
Well,
if
you can get two or three to agree, then you work with what you've got.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah,
and
don't
also,
get behind.
Excuse me?
Just don't get behind.
Yeah, I'm trying not to.
Yeah,
That's why I asked. Also, on the peer review, I don't have a problem with saying I know you guys were saying, I don't really have a problem with doing it as far as saying what or giving feedback, but the feedback that you were giving was so eloquent. It's probably not going to be that way. So are you guys, are you going to give feedback? I know we can't do it more than once, but are you going to give feedback to say, okay, you could probably say it this way or that way?
You need to make sure that it's scholarly language, that it's educated language. It doesn't have to be as eloquent as what Dr. Revis said, but I will tell you, Adrian, we have had in the past, and even last semester, we had some of the best peer reviews that we've ever had from the students last semester.
And Adrian, it will get easier for you.
Yeah, yeah. It would have been good to see one of the peer reviews from one of the peers from last semester.
Well, what Dr. Revis showed you was very similar to that.
Just
Very
model
similar
after
to that.
that one.
Okay.
And you'll learn phrases to use and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But you will grow in it.
You will.
I know I felt it this week trying to get around and talk to people. I'm like, oh my God, they're right. I'm totally out of my element.
But
okay.
It's a learning curve. But then if you hang in there, Adrian, and you keep on pushing, at some point, you'll experience that moment. You'll say, oh, and it's like that moment, and it'll all start coming together, and you won't feel what you're feeling now. I know how you're feeling now, being right where you are. So you won't be feeling that the whole time.
All right.
Okay.
I'll take your word for it.
Okay, you will. Quintina, because you had a question early on.
Yes. My question is, with task 1, do I have to include the remaining information, like for task 2 on down, inside of task 1? Do I still get the information?
Each time you submit only the task for that time. However, let me give you all a rule of thumb. You need to save you a running document that you won't send to us, but save you a running document, because at the end, you've got to put it all together anyway. So save you a running document, but only send us the task that we need to review for that week. Good question, Quintina. Okay, Larry?
Okay, my question is, I have a PLC, but I don't have 4 to 5 because the other staff members are negative and they have slowed our PLCs down tremendously already. And the other 3 staff members are beginning teachers. So is it okay for me to have 4 total, including myself?
That's good. You're okay. I'd rather you have 4 quality counting yourself than to have, 5 that's no good.
But I will say this.
Go ahead.
You need to learn to work with the naysayers.
Right.
So at some point, when you're gathering a PLC, you're going to have to learn to bring them along.
Oh, I
but
am. We work together.
Not now.
Right. We work together on other PLCs, and I have to work with them as the Dean of Interventions. So I already know how they like to slow things down, and I didn't really put them on this. I just wanted to make sure I was good.
Right. And that,
I wouldn't put that in my narrative.
No, don't put that in your narrative. But Larry, at some point, as you're growing in this, you may want to, like Dr. Revis said, start bringing somebody like that in, so that, that's an opportunity to try to start turning them around when you've got a strong team that you're working with. Okay. Okay, Tanya.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, hello. So, thank you for the information about the AAPSL task review. I had a question. Does that need to be in any kind of APA format, or is just our paper that we turn in?
You're talking about the feedback?
The feedback reviews. That doesn't have to be.
No.
Okay.
No,
All right.
no.
Okay, and I teach elementary school and I have like 10-minute blocks of free time. I don't have a planning period of a big 40 or 50-minute chunk of time. I have 20 minutes here and 10 minutes here. And so I will do what I can as working on clinical at my school because I don't.
And Tanya, some of that's going to have to come before school, after
Sure.
school. Use opportunities for parent teacher open house, for literacy nights. You know, anything that you can do that's outside of the confines of that classroom.
Right.
Look for those extra opportunities.
Yeah, because I could do 100 hours in supervising because we start, I know I can't, but 3:15 to 4:30 is car rider duty.
Right.
That's an hour and 15 minutes every day.
Right.
So that I can't write and I can't, I can maybe use my phone, type up
Right.
notes on my phone, that kind
Right.
of thing. So
Okay. Okay. But that's why it's important to get started on it now so you don't,
sure.
so you can look at it. Okay.
Yeah.
Mayra?
Hi, I have two questions. A concern and a question. So I've been checking my email and I haven't received anything. I've been checking it several days this week, and I even just checked it right before class. So that's my one concern for the clinical, to set up the clinical virtual appointment.
Okay.
And my other question was for the log. Our school started August 1st, and so we had, like, I led a student orientation. It was like several hours. Can I start from that day, or
Absolutely.
do I have to start?
Absolutely, yes. And Dr. Revis, Mayra is in your, would you reach out to her CC1 and let them know that she hasn't received any an email?
Me either.
Okay.
Mayra, what is your last name?
Okay.
It's Wilcox.
If you're,
Wilcox, okay.
if you're in my class and you haven't heard from your CC1, then send me an email. If you're in Dr. Revis's class and you haven't heard, send her an email. And that way we will make sure that we can reach out to them. Okay. Thanks, Mayra.
Thank you.
Hi. So one question you already answered. My other question would be, can I count the time that I use as school leadership chair facilitating school improvement team meetings?
Dr. Revis, what you think?
I definitely would think so.
I think so. Now, it can't be take up the bulk of your hours, but you can use some of it, LaShonda.
Okay, and the time that I meet with my principal as well to get all of that together?
As long as you're leading.
Yes, I'm school improvement
as
chair.
long as you're taking that lead. Yes, I would say yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mandy?
I'm going to go back to our PLC evidence for just a moment. I just want to know if we're going to be doing them on Zoom, and is it going to be appropriate for me to record the sessions and then submit the links to those recordings as part of the evidence for the PLC?
Well, you can do the Zoom, but you can't just send the link. You would need to, Dr. Revis, what did we do before when we were doing the virtual?
I think you have to upload them into a YouTube channel and provide the link.
But you need to also take pictures of the team so that we can see the team working, and make sure that you have a good agenda for that, Mandy, that you can provide with it as well. Yes.
Okay.
And most people,
works.
Mandy, just did screenshots of the people.
Right.
Make sure if you're going to do that, make sure that all of your team members agree to be recorded and everything.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Mandy. Alicia?
Okay, I'm trying to find some of these things in the menu. So the clinical feedback log, the clinical log example that you had up earlier, like whenever I click on it, I'm just getting the blank one. Where was the one like with the examples that were like partially filled in, Dr. Revis?
Okay.
They were under, I think I've got one under week 2.
Okay, so all right, because I went into the MSA clinical, where was it? Internship resources, so it's not there. Okay, I should be in the weeks.
Go into week 2 and see if it's there.
Week 2.
And
Okay, clinical.
While you're looking at that, Alicia, hold
Okay.
your thought. While you're looking for that, Jeffrey,
Yeah, I have a question. If we led PDs and created alignment documents and rolled out lesson plan documents school-wide and went over that, could we count that as ours?
and how far back are you talking about, Jeffrey?
The beginning of August.
Yes.
And
It
then
doesn't have to always be with just your established PLC. It could be other things that you're doing in the school.
like I helped my admin with that where we rolled out new initiatives from the district.
Absolutely.
And then when you said the strategies part, are the strategies the data points that we're coming up with, or
the strategies are how you're going to go about disaggregating your data and completing your data dive.
okay.
In other words, are you going to look at historical trends? Are you going to look at curriculum strands? Are you going to look at different subgroups of students? How are you going to do that data dive? What strategies are you going to use?
Okay, and remember, I think I talked with you about it, Jeffrey. I don't know if it was. Are you going to look at the most 3 recent years of data to see again if there is a trend, like Dr. Revis said, in an area? So those are the kinds of things that we're talking about.
And it can also go as far as after we looked at 3 years of trend data, we discovered that yada yada yada. We decided to back up and go look at some more data. It's the strategies that you're using to narrow it down to your most pressing need.
Okay, so we for math, whatever we decide, if we focus on numbers and operations, that would be a strand within maps that we can target and focus on.
Correct.
Okay.
So you're one of your strategies is you decided to look at historical trends, and then you delved into curricular strands.
Okay, cool.
Okay, Malika. Okay, Malika.
Hello. Yes,
Hey.
I was gonna. I think you answered the question I had from the previous person, but I was gonna ask basically how far can we go back on our internship experience, because I work year round. So like August 1st, well, really before then, we've been working on a lot of stuff as well. So I wanted to know what was the date?
I would say, Dr. Revis, I would say the beginning August 1st, the beginning of August. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think we can stretch it back that far, but I don't think we can go into July.
Right.
Okay, my school started in July, like students were back on July 26th. Right. So we had a teacher work week the week before.
Right.
So don't go, because I'm just getting clarification. When I talked to my CC1, she was like, well, start back wherever your professional development started for that pre-planning week. So don't go back that far.
Well, but now just because you attended staff development, you can't count that. If you have led in staff development, then you can count that, but just participating in staff development does not count towards your hours.
Okay. All right, I'll just keep it August 1.
Okay. Who was it that was asking the question about the log? I mean,
I did. I found it. It was.
Alicia, did you find it, Alicia? Okay.
Yes, it was in week 2.
Okay, got you. Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else before we close out? And we will fix, I will fix that, peer review. Hopefully
You'll
by
sit up
tonight.
tonight, won't you? You'll sit up tonight trying to
I
figure
will
that
fix
out.
it, but it's gonna take a long time for this video to process. So, it's gonna be a while before I can get to it. Renee, do you have a
Stacy?
question?
I did. Good afternoon, Dr. Rivas and Dr. Stedman.
Hi.
So I'm an an avid teacher for our school. And we have 6th, 7th, and 8th grade cohorts. I'm actually the avid lead teacher, the original. What we wanted to do is monitor the cohorts to see how their growth has changed with them being an avid as compared to those who are not avid students. And we want to identify areas that they need more strength in, whether it is reading, math, science, whatever the case may be. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that, as far as pushing forward, because this is a need for our school. And I do think for those students, there's about 25 per class. For those students, it's about them and what they need to be successful, not only in their academics, but in this program as well.
Okay, Renee, I would suggest, you've got to, if AVID is going to be a focus, then when you do your data dive and your strategies, everything should be about when you meet with your team. Okay, what strategies are you going to, follow step 1, step 2, step 3. So once, what are the resources you're going to need? How are you going to do this? Then how are you going to attack that? And if it's going to be AVID, then what other data relates to AVID and can you look at to help you with your focus there? And you've got to look at EOG test scores, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. We were going to take the EOG test scores, their Ames Web data, as well as their NC check-in and what they do in math as well. But we really wanted to focus on all of the academics as much as possible.
I think your data dive can include all those academics.
I do.
But for the purpose of your task here, you need to pick the most pressing need. Okay. So let's say you look at all those areas, try to lead your PLC to make a decision about what is our most pressing need. And most people,
I can do that across. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think most people, AVID is a middle school program, I'm assuming. Most people are going to say reading, English language arts reading, because you've got to have command of that before you can really be successful anywhere else. So
AVID is actually for middle school and high school. There are some elements.
Yeah.
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 But look at all the data, but come up with one area. Okay.
Now that doesn't mean that your
across
school
the grade levels.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that other PLCs cannot focus in other areas, but you need to only focus on the most pressing need for this purpose. I see the direction you're going in, but what will happen, Renee, is that it will become too broad and you'll get bogged down in trying to pull too much into it for
when you get
activity.
Yeah, when you get to task 3, you've got to do some research, and you can't research all those different areas. That's why you pick one. Okay. You'll see, it'll come together, and you'll see why we're saying this soon. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Stedman, I also have something for you at the end, if it's okay. If I could just stay behind.
Okay, sure.
Stacy, ask the question about your principal wants you to be the InduStar process manager. I'm not sure what that means, process manager. It definitely looks like that would be in your technical knowledge. I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure what all that means, what a process manager is or means. Okay.
Dr. Revis, hold just a second. Renee, I'm going to mute myself. Call me while Dr. Revis is finishing up. Call me on my phone at 910-633-4816. 910-633-4816. Dr. Revis,
Okay,
I'm going to mute myself, Dr. Revis.
Okay. So, Stacey, if you want to kind of, if you know what it is, we'll talk. If not, you email me or whatever.
Yeah, it's just it's the process we use to keep up with the school improvement plan. So
Okay.
it's where all of our standards will go. I will be responsible for entering the standards, entering the action plan, meeting with the team, basically processing through the school improvement plan for this year.
While you're doing data entry, that would be technical. Okay. If you're facilitating team discussions, that would be leadership.
Okay, so I'll do both. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
it can be a combination.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
All right.
you.
Uh-huh. Alicia, did you have another question? You're muted, Alicia.
Yes. So right now for my profile, I've been looking up the information in the South Carolina school. What do you call it? What's the word I'm missing? The report card.
Right.
So the information is for 2021-22 because the 2023 info doesn't get released until like October. So do I need to like backtrack and change that info in my profile later as we go along, or?
You can if you wish. You can.
Okay.
But for right now, for this one, use your most recent data you've got.
Okay.
Anything else, anybody? Guys, you've been so patient with us tonight. I appreciate you. Have a good
Thank you
rest of
so
your week.
much. Thank you.
You can do this.